What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we're taking a look at a game called Knifetank. So stick around. Before we get started, if you're new to our channel and you want to see more content like this, start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Knifetank is a brand new card game coming out on Kickstarter January 14th. It's only going to be a 2-week Kickstarter, so you're going to have a very limited time in order to back that. The game is being made by Dr. Popular. If you aren't familiar, Dr. Popular, one thing I found interesting was he created this character, Knifetank, and you can actually go and play an iOS or phone game called Knifetank The Happening, or I'm sorry, The Haunting, and he hopes to use this character later on in new and inventive ways. But Knifetank, the card game, as you can see, it fits right into the palm of your hand. It's no bigger than a standard deck of cards. And it pits 2 to 4 players against each other in kind of tank combat, and it only takes about 20 minutes to play, and it's slated for ages 12 and up. I think that's pretty accurate, and it has kind of a heavy metal vibe to it, which I really like because I'm a big heavy metal fan. The art is all hand-drawn. It is quite a cool little game, and for only $13, you'll be able to back it on January 14th over on Kickstarter. So without further ado, if you'll join me on the table, we will take a look at it. All right, so from what I understand from Dr. Popular, the version of the game that I have here is pretty much the exact same version that you're going to get out of the Kickstarter. The packaging may change, and they're going to be adding some illustrations to the rule book. For the most part, everything that you see here, the art and the coloring and all that other stuff is pretty much all set and ready to go. So this packaging may change. I quite like it. It's pretty simple, and it's got some great art here on the cover, and just the name of the game here. Maybe if they just added, a little bit, how long the game takes, how many players, the age, etc. on there, I think this would be good to go. I'm not sure what the Kickstarter packaging will look like. I'll make sure to link all of that in the description below once it goes live. But let's crack this open and take a look. So once inside the box, you are met with everything that you need to play the game. There is a small rule book included. Some nice art on the front there. Like I said, they will be adding more art in the actual rulebook. I did not have any trouble learning how to play the game by reading this. It wasn't very difficult at all, so good on them for making the rules pretty legible. You also get a couple of quick reference rule cards, which you can keep on the table, which are very handy, so you don't have to flip through the book. You get a small deck of hit cards, which I'll explain why you need these in a minute. You also get 4 double-sided health cards. This is how you keep track of the health on your tanks. And then you have the tanks themselves. There are 8 total included. They are double-sided, so you have 4 on the front here and 4 on the back. Each one of them is different in some way, whether it be the hit values that they use, the placement of the treads of the tank, the health values, etc. So they are all unique. I spoke to Dr. Popular, and there is some talk of possibly having some exclusive tanks added to the Kickstarter. We'll see if that actually happens, or maybe some foils, which would be pretty cool. And then, of course, you have your actual deck of cards that you're going to use to move and attack and stuff with your tank. So all of the art, like I said, is hand drawn. It's pretty cool. If we flip through some of these cards, these here are your movement cards. They will show you which way that you're going to move. And then you have some special damaging cards, like spinning, so you can spin your tank around and deal some damage. Some more movement. Let's see what else we've got here. These are just actual knife cards that will deal damage to other tanks as well. And again, lots of movement and stuff like that. So let's set up for a game and I will show you how it plays. Okay, so here we have set up for a 2-player game. The game is slated for 2 to 4 players. In a 4-player game, you would have 2 versus 2. And the recommended area of play is a 36-inch long table, which is 3 feet. Obviously, I don't have a 3-foot table with everything set up that I can show you that dimension, I guess. But, you know, we'll just pretend that this is a 3-foot table. And during setup, each player selects a tank, and they place them on their table edge opposite each other with a health counter card to show the health of the tank. So this shows 4, which matches the 4 on this tank, whereas I have 3, which matches the 3 on my tank. And each player is dealt 5 cards from the action deck. I have my 5 here, and the object of the game is to either destroy your opponent's tank or get your tank onto your opponent's table edge without falling off of the table. So in order to do that, we're going to take turns playing action cards. So on the player's turns, each player will place down 2 cards face down on the table at the same time. I will place a couple here to show you what to do. Let's see, I'll place this one and this one, and my opponent would do the same thing on his side of the table. Like I said, there are 3 different types of action cards. There are move cards, stab cards, and special cards. Once both players have placed 2 cards, we would each reveal one at the same time, not both, and then we would resolve them in the order of move, stab, special. So here I have played a stab card. If my opponent played a move card, for example, let me grab one real quick here, then we would resolve his first, and then we would resolve mine. So let's show you how to resolve the cards. So he's played a move card here. This move card, as you can see, has some circles and squares down here at the bottom, and then a line up here. And then on the tank cards, there are also matching symbols there, and the little dot as well. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to line up the bottom of the move card here with the matching symbols on the tank, which are essentially the treads of the tank. And then once you've done that, you're going to remove the card out from underneath, follow the arrow, and then place it matching the symbols that are shown on the cards. So that's all lined up. So this tank essentially moved and made a right turn. And then this card is done. So then it would come back over to me, since it's my turn. I'm essentially going to do the same thing. On these stab cards, they will have the same symbols of where they need to go on the tank. Some stab cards have a circle, which means it's a turret, so it would go on top of the tank and could go in any direction. But this one here has tread icons, which are these squares in the bottom. So this would go on my tank like so to match up the symbols. And you would see my stab card is not touching the tank, just barely. but I'm not going to do any damage to this tank because I was not close enough. I probably should have moved first, but maybe I was anticipating that he was going to come up, and so that's why I chose to do what I did there. So let's say, for example, I was a little closer, and I did lay that down, and my stab card was touching his tank. Now I'm going to deal damage, and I'll show you how that works. So once something like this happens, this tank here is going to suffer a hit from the stab action that was taken by my tank. So in order to do that, we go over here to the hit deck. Me, as the person who is doing the hitting, is going to look at the card that's doing the damage. It has a star and a 2. I'm going to go to this deck here. I'm going to look for the star and the 2, which I've got right here. And then I'm going to shuffle them up, and I'm going to deal one of those to my opponent here. So I'll just flip this over, and it's a 2. So that's a mega hit. So this stab action does 2 damage to my opponent tank here, which is a pretty big hit. 2 is the biggest hit that the game has. So he's going from 4 down to 2. So he flips his card around like that, and that's kind of the end of that action. The star icon means a stun, and a stun does not deal any damage, but the tank that got stunned cannot make a move action until their next full turn. So they skip any move actions that would happen. So in this case, if he had another move card, he would not move. He's going to basically just stay there, which is an opportunity for me to really pound into him, which is pretty good. So essentially, that's how the game works. You're going to play cards. Once the turn is over, once you've revealed both actions here, I would move. This is done. So I would then move, place that here and move. We would collide. Colliding happens the same way as a normal hit. Your tank value is a 0, like mine here is a 0 and a 1. So I would go back to my hit deck here. I'd grab the 0 and the 1. I would shuffle them up, and then I would deal 1. So that's a miss. It doesn't deal any damage to the tank, but you kind of get the idea. And then once all that's done, me and my opponent would draw back up to 5. So we still have 3 hands. We'd draw 2 more cards, and then we would go again, placing cards down, taking actions. The one thing that we didn't look at, which we will real quick, is the special cards. In the deck, there are numerous special cards. There's only one of each, but there's different ones that do different stuff. So, for example here, this is a drop, and it is +1 health. So you would essentially, once this is played, you would hold it about 2 feet off of the table, and you would drop it down. And if your card lands on your tank, in this case, it did. So my tank is going to get +1 health. You can't go above your starting health, so if I was still at 3, nothing would happen. You also have stuff like Flick, right? So Flick, you would put this on your table edge, and then you would flick it towards the car. If it hit the car, you're going to do damage. Star 1/1, same damage dealing as before. There's other drops. There's toss, where you basically are tossing the cards. There's spin, where you spin the cards, and different things like that. Blow, where you literally put it down and, get down near the table and blow air onto the card to move it, etc. So you can see there's lots of different options. Every time that you play, you're going to get a different experience because you're going to be using different tanks. You're going to draw different cards and stuff like that. So it really is kind of... it reminds me a little bit of Gaslands in that, in the theme of the cars, but also that, you're essentially playing a tabletop game by using cards, moving the physical cards around by doing the different things that are in this action deck. Well, guys, that's honestly everything that you need to know in order to play Knifetank. It's a fun little game for $13. I highly recommend it. It checks off all my boxes. It's light. It fits into the palm of my hand. The art is great. The gameplay is fun. And it really, there's not much more that I can ask for a game like this. I hope to definitely see either more tanks or foil cards or both, maybe an expansion down the road, because this is the type of game that I would love to continue to play for years and years to come. So like I said at the beginning of the video, January 14th, it launches on Kickstarter. I will be sure to put links to everything in the description down below for you guys to check out. Huge shout out to the developers for giving me an opportunity to take a look, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the game as much as I do. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Really helps us out a lot. Make sure that you share it with your family, your friends, and your nerdy communities. If you have any suggestions of anything you would like to see featured on our page, let us know in the comment section down below. And if you have any videos you want to put up on our YouTube page, make sure that you contact us on one of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Circle of Nerds. We would love to collaborate with you. We also have a podcast that comes out every week on Tuesday called The Cosmic Disaster Show. You can find it right here on our YouTube page. You can also find it on any podcasting platform, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, etc. Just look for The Cosmic Disaster Show. And for a little bit of extra love and affection, make sure that you check us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/circle. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I will see you in the next video.